After the worst of the worst across the country, like President Trump has told us to do, focusing on those that are perpetuating murder and rape and trafficking of drugs and humans across our country, knowing that every single citizen deserves to be safe.
Part of what distinguished the Los Angeles operations, however, is that National Guard troops were there, in essence, protecting or backing up those federal agents as they conducted operations. Is that what we should expect to see in Chicago?
You know, that always is a prerogative of President Trump and his decision. I won't speak to the specifics of the operations that are planned in other cities, but I do know that LA wouldn't be standing today if President Trump hadn't taken action. Then that city would have burned down if left to the devices of the mayor and the governor of that state. And so the citizens who live there, the small business owners in downtown LA, they're thankful that President Trump came in with federal law enforcement officers and helped support keeping those streets open, keep their homes and businesses from burning down, and made sure the law and order was restored.
I just want to clarify one thing you said there. You said LA wouldn't be standing if not for these federal deployments?
So many of those homes and businesses that were in downtown LA and in those areas were dealing with riots and violence, and coming in and bringing those federal law enforcement officers in was incredibly important to keeping peace. And so we are grateful that President Trump was willing to send resources and people in order to enforce the law. And Ed, since then, we have arrested 5,000 dangerous illegal criminals out of LA and removed them from our country and had them face justice for their crimes.
That was Trump's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying that LA would have burned down if Trump hadn't sent in the National Guard. I live in LA. With every fiber of my being, on my friends and family, I can assure you that Kristi Noem is 100% full of shit. Protests took up maybe 3 blocks of downtown LA. That's it. A few Waymos were set on fire by people who wanted to instigate a fight. This wouldn't rank in the top 100 protests this city has seen, and so the notion that it was necessary to carry out only the 6th major deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles since 1965 is an absolute joke. It was an excuse not to quell the protests, but to incite them. Even the police chief admitted that it was unnecessary.
We know the governor's pushing to get the National Guard out of LA, but you've spoken with the city's police chief. What did he have to say about the president's decision to deploy troops there?
Yeah, Errol, good morning to you. The police chief telling me that that move was unnecessary, going on to say that the National Guard at no point has provided assistance to them since the Guard arrived here on Sunday. We're actually here outside the staging area for the Guard troops. 4,000 have been deployed to downtown Los Angeles. We have not seen in our reporting the National Guard out on the streets. Instead, they've been primarily focused on federal buildings. In fact, their very presence has attracted more protesters, and we have watched as the LAPD has stepped in to assist holding those protesters back. The police chief saying at no point has there also been coordination with the federal government. Take a listen to our exchange.
We don't need the National Guard, and they're not here to help us right now. They're here to facilitate what the federal agencies are doing on the immigration front.
See, I'm confused because President Trump said that they were brought in to assist with the protests.
Yeah, well, that's not our understanding.
Not only did the LAPD not request assistance from the National Guard and federal troops, but the presence of these troops actually exacerbated tensions. Trump claims to have wanted to quell the protests when in fact he incited them. Also, Noem herself used to have some pretty strong opinions about the federal government coming in and taking over. She tweeted back in 2024, if Joe Biden federalizes the National Guard, that would be a direct attack on states' rights. Over the last several years, we've seen Democrats try to take away our freedoms of religion, assembly, and speech. We can't let them take away our right to defend ourselves, too. South Dakota defends the Constitution. And she also said this.
The Republican governors, they all deserve credit, that stood by Governor Abbott's side. If you didn't stand with him in solidarity, I'm not sure Biden wouldn't have precipitated a real crisis down there.
Yeah, Sean, I went the actual day that showdown was supposed to happen. People asked me why, when I heard the news, I immediately the next day was at the border. And it was because of what I heard Democrats encouraging the president to do. They were encouraging President Biden to activate our National Guard soldiers so that they would stand down. He actually was going to take control of our South Dakota National Guard and actually activate them so that they would not protect America. So recognizing the real threat that was to states' rights and how that would be the the first time in history a president would pay a soldier to not fight, to not protect our country. Made me show up in Texas the next day to let Governor Abbott know I'm here. South Dakota is with you. We will defend our Constitution. We will defend our rights, because the last several years we've seen the Democrats take away our freedom of religion, our freedom of assembly, our freedom of speech. We can't let them take away our states' rights, too, especially our right to protect ourselves.
So Kristi Noem thinks that sending in federal troops is a, quote, direct attack on states' rights, and that the effort to prevent the federalization of the National Guard is akin to defending the Constitution, which would mean, in effect, that what she herself is now defending is undermining states' rights and shredding the Constitution. Honest question here. Can anyone tell me what the Republican Party actually stands for? It certainly isn't states' rights as they send federal troops into our states. It certainly isn't fiscal responsibility as they explode the deficit to an unprecedented degree to give the richest Americans a tax cut. Certainly isn't family values as they line up like lemmings behind the guy who is right now, currently, covering up the Epstein scandal. So other than blind allegiance to the God King, what do they actually stand for? But just like Noem has compromised her values, other Republicans are following suit. I spoke with one right-wing commentator on News Nation about the hypocrisy of the party of small government now rallying behind the federalization of the National Guard.
So, Brian, the number one criticism of Governor Newsom is going to be, well, he saw the results, so he's copying Trump. He's trying to do everything he can to thwart off Trump bringing in National Guard. Talk a little bit about what the governor in California has to do to get results and how he deals with kind of the political fallout and opportunity that he's creating.
Well, I think he's not copying what Trump is doing. Trump sent in federal troops, which should be overseas. They should be fighting foreign wars. Gavin Newsom in California is sending in the police, which is, by the way, what Trump could do if he didn't withhold $1 billion in funding from Washington, D.C. itself. And if we had a Democratic governor sending the U.S. military into states, including yours, Governor, as the governor of the live free and die state when you were governor there,
or die.
you would be, I'm sorry?
Or die, not live free and die, but thank you.
Live free or die. You would be apoplectic, and rightfully so. So this idea that the Republican Party, the party of small government, is now in favor of sending the U.S. military into our streets is bananas. And of course, the straw man that's being put forward is that it's either we have the military in there or we're going to get our throats cut at night in Washington, D.C. Is there no middle ground? Do police officers do nothing? Do local law enforcement count for nothing? We've got the National Guard gardening right now in Washington, D.C. Is that a valid use? Is that an effective or efficient use of our government resources?
If I may, Brian,
And of course, the seriousness goes beyond just Trump consolidating power right now. If you have watched this channel, if you've watched my videos before, you know how seriously I take the danger of Trump deploying the troops into states, because this isn't just about exercising power today, it is about laying the foundation to be able to do it during the election. Remember, Trump already tried once to seize voting machines. He already tried once to block certification of the election. He already incited an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Imagine how much easier his nefarious efforts will be if he now has boots on the ground in the form of these soldiers, as Mark Elias explained here.
I believe, and have been saying for some time, that Donald Trump is a dictator, and that we are further along the road of authoritarianism than people want to admit. You know, if you go back and look at what people in Hungary said about their country, they too were very slow to say that Viktor Orban was a full-out dictator. Donald Trump is not deploying the military in these cities because he cares about the people of those cities. He's not even really deploying them for immigration. Now, he has made ICE like what would be essentially the fourth largest military in the world if it was military, all right? So he's deploying a ton of resources around deportations. I believe, though, this whole thing with the National Guard, the deployment of the Marines, is about the 2026 elections and perhaps even the 2028 elections, when he wants to be able to be in control of the ground in which people are voting, particularly in Democratic cities. And so Jim Saxo, who's a reporter at Democracy Docket, wrote a piece about this. And lest you think this is just something that people on the left are worried about, or someone like me, who's very prominent in the pro-democracy community, is focused on, that article quotes Patrick Eddington, who is a senior fellow at the Cato Institute. And the Cato Institute is, a pretty right-wing libertarian think tank, well respected, but definitely not the kind of organization that usually would agree with my thoughts or would be contributing their input to the Democracy Docket article. And he goes so far as to say that the first place where they may try this is Virginia in the in the off-year elections, the 2025 elections this November, as a dry run.
The reality is that Kristi Noem is not there because she has any semblance of consistent principles. She is there expressly because she is a Trump sycophant. She is a yes man. She is there not because she's strong, but expressly because she's weak. She will bend to Trump's will. If ever there was a reason to fight back now, it is because we know that all of the barriers that were in place during Trump's first term are now gone. And Kristi Noem's presence in this administration is a testament to exactly that. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.